Hello.
And welcome
Welcome to
Church Online.
Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won, for you have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands, great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands, this is my confidence, you've never failed me yet. I know the night won't last, your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again. Jesus, you're still enough. Keep me within your love. My heart will sing your praise again. Your promise still stands, great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands, this is my confidence, you've never failed me yet. You've never failed me yet. You've never failed me, Jesus. You've never failed me yet. I've seen you move the mountains, and I believe
So over the coming weeks, we're going to be working through this resource and we're going to be thinking about evangelism, which is very exciting. Now, hopefully, that may have answered some of your questions about what is evangelism. For me, as I was thinking about it, it's basically telling someone else something that you love. That's it. It's very, very simple. And it's not the big, scary word that we think about it. I'm just going to read our Bible reading that was mentioned earlier, which is from Romans chapter 10, verses 14 and 15. And it says this: "How then can they call on the one they have not believed in? And how can they believe in the one whom they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching to them? And how can anyone preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news." And the letter of this book in the Bible is asking that question, well, how is anyone going to hear anything if no one says anything? How is anyone going to know about this great God we have in Jesus if no one says anything? And so we're thinking about evangelism and we're thinking about what it means to share our faith. And that can be a really scary thing. And somehow, I don't really know how this happens, we end up in places where bashing people over the head with a Bible and telling them that they're going to burn in eternity of hellfire is somehow a good witness and good evangelism. And I think it's a bit backwards. And so I want to tell you a few stories about people who I love very much as we think about evangelism. So the first person I want to tell you about is my dearly departed Nan. Her name was Anne. And you may have spotted that the second of Grace's middle names is Anne. So the thing you need to know about my Nan when she was alive is this: she loved her family. She was so passionate about us, and she loved us so much, and we miss her dearly. And I was her eldest grandson, and don't tell anyone, but I was her favourite. My mum will confirm this for you later. Now here's the thing. The way everybody knew that my Nan loved her family was because she never stopped talking about us. She told everyone about us. Anyone she came across would end up hearing some story about either her kids, her grandkids, whatever. So when she was working in a care home, all of the patients there knew about us. They knew everything about us. And when she was ill in hospital, all the hospital nurses and all the doctors, they knew all about her family. And she was always asking us for photographs so that she could then show people photographs. So it's like, I was telling you about my grandson David. Look at him, how handsome he is. I mean, obviously. Anyone who then met us after meeting my Nan could tell us all sorts of things about us because they had met Nan, which was quite scary sometimes, but she was brilliant like that. Okay, the second person I want to mention is my oldest friend in the world, Matt. Now, there are many things that I could tell you about Matt, but the thing that amuses me the most recently is his passion for craft beer. Don't worry, I did ask him before I said, dude, can I talk about you in church, especially when he's just over there somewhere. Now, Matt is so passionate about craft beer that he convinced me to download this app on my phone called Untapped so that I could record all of the different beers that I tried when I went on holiday to New Zealand about 6 years ago. And so this app is quite scary, really, because last total when I checked, I've recorded 138 beers in 6 years or so, which does make it sound like I have a problem, but I promise I don't. All things in moderation. All things in moderation. Now, Matt loves his beer, and he loves it in the kind of way that he tells you about it, and he shares stuff about it. And not only does he love his beer and tell you about it, he decided to do something about it. And pre-COVID, he used to take people on craft beer tours and introduce them to all sorts of different breweries and different types of beer. It was really, really interesting. And Matt is still working on me to find me my perfect beer. We're not there yet, but we might have to try another 138 or so. And the other thing about Matt is he's my oldest friend, and so we talk about all sorts of stuff together, through the hard times and the good times, the ups and the downs, all of it. And it usually ends up with us having a beer and putting the world to right. My mate Matt is brilliant like that. Okay, the third story and the third person, or persons, I want to talk to you about is our friends Mark and Rachel. We love them dearly, and I did also tell them that I wanted to say something about them this morning. And there are, again, so many things that I could tell you about Rachel and Mark, but the thing that stands out for me the most is the way they make you feel. You spend 5 minutes in their company and you come away feeling like you are £1 million. You feel on top of the world. They are genuinely lovely people who make you feel better about yourself. They care about other people. They are interested in other people's lives. And so they actually engage with you. They listen really, really well using their ears. And they ask really good questions using their mouth. Yes, mouth. They have lovely hair as well. I am very jealous of their hair. I'm basically jealous of everyone's hair. Mark and Rachel, they're brilliant. They listen well and they ask good questions and they engage and they make you feel good about yourself. They're proper great like that. So what does all of that have to do with evangelism? So here's the thing. My nan loved her family, and so she chatted with people about it. Matt loves a good beer, and so he shares that love of beer by doing things with other people and beer. Mark and Rachel listen well, and they ask good questions, and they show genuine interest and empathy in people's lives, which means you want to open up and you want to talk to them. You want to hang out with them because they're great. Unless you want to hang out with Matt and have a beer, which is obviously... So often I think we get stuck in our head that evangelism is really, really difficult, when actually it's just as simple as sharing a little piece of our story. It's doing decent things for people. It's listening well to others. And I realize that it can be difficult, and not all of us feel very eloquent or feel like we can give a good defense of our faith. So here is a little thing that I have found really, really helpful. So I used to work for a very large global pharmaceutical and healthcare data company. I was based up in London. And you know that thing where you go into work on a Monday and it's about 9 o'clock and you desperately need that cup of tea. And so you go to the kitchen and you're making a cup of tea. And people would say to you, "Hey, how was your weekend?" And genuinely, I would usually go, yeah, it's all right, same old, because pretty much it had been all right, and I did the same old things. But that was all I said. Until one day, I decided that I was going to answer that question in a slightly different way. And so Monday morning, I'm in the kitchen, and the tea's being made, and someone says, "Hey, dude, how was your weekend?" I was like, "Yeah, it was good. Watched football on Saturday, went to church on Sunday." Do you know what happened? Nothing. Absolutely nothing happened. The world didn't end. There was no weirdness. There was no embarrassment. Nothing happened. It was all okay. We finished making the cups of tea, and then I went back to my desk. Sat at my desk. Do you want a cup of tea? No? Okay. Sent a few emails, did a bit of work. It was all right. That story, that's a bit weird when nothing happened. Well, yet nothing happened, but later on, a few things did happen. A number of weeks later, and I don't know, it might have been months later, I was making a cup of tea in the kitchen. I make a lot of tea. And someone randomly just asked me a question about God. I wasn't expecting it. They just suddenly asked a question out of the blue, which, you know, you're trying to pour the milk steady and you're like, woohoo! Jesus. And then a few weeks later, someone asked me about what sort of church it is I went to, which has been very confusing because during the time I was working there, I went to about 3 different churches, so I couldn't decide which one was the best. That's not true. The thing with it was there wasn't any, pushing. There wasn't any fighting. There was no bashing people over the head with a Bible. There was no weirdness. There was just being honest about what happened. It was answering a question. So when we begin to think about evangelism, perhaps we should be thinking about these things. Number 1, what is it that I love about Jesus, and how do I talk about that? And that's where I remember my nan showing pictures of me and my family. Number 2, if I love Jesus and I want to be like him, what sort of things did Jesus do to show love to other people? Jesus was very good at going to parties. He liked wine. He probably would have gone on a beer tour with Matt if he was around at the same time as him. He hung out with people who other people didn't really want to hang out with. He was a cool dude who got down with people and understood them. He would have walked the streets and met up with someone who other people would have gone, no. He was a good person who empathized with people and met with them where they were at, not demanding that they come somewhere and do things that they didn't feel so comfortable with. And that's where I think of Matt and beer. And number 3, how can I make people feel better about themselves when they've spent time with me? Do I really listen to what they're saying? How can I build good and genuine friendships which build bridges that allow people to enter into my life and me to enter into theirs? And that's where I think of my friends Rachel and Mark and how they make me feel good about myself, because I'm pretty sure we all need to feel a little bit better about ourselves. So 3 things. What do you love? What can you do? And how can you make people feel good about themselves? And so on Monday morning, whether you have any faith in Jesus or not, whether you believe he existed or not, sadly for you, if you don't think he existed, he really did exist. Like the historical person of Jesus there was definitely a man called Jesus 2,000 years ago. The stuff in the Bible we can debate on, that it's quite bonkers really, some of it, isn't it? But Jesus was definitely a person who lived. And for me, I've come to the point where I believe it's true. It's made such a profound impact on my life, and it's helped me with the ups and downs, because, life is tough, life is hard, and sometimes we hit some pretty low points, and he hit those low points with me and gave me strength to keep going. And he surrounded me with amazing family, my parents who are like, I love you, and my friends who are sat over there, and this church, and you guys who have come here today. I believe that's because of Jesus. And these days, I wear a dog collar, I'm a priest, and so people just ask me all sorts of questions. My favorite recently was a bloke who was smoking weed who apologized and then asked me to pray for him to try to help kick that habit, which I thought that was a really interesting conversation, if ever there was one. But here's the thing. Tomorrow morning, when you go to work or wherever it is you go, Tuesday morning, good spot. Tuesday morning, when you go to work, and someone says to you, how was your weekend? Every single one of us here can answer that question and say, I went to church. And then you don't have to say anything else, and you can just see what happens and see where it might lead. Amen.
Of Abraham, you're the God of covenant, of faithful promises. Time and time again, you have proven you do
today.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thanks for being here
With us.
Here today.